Hello, this is Spencer McGreal, back at it again, reading from White Girl Bleeds a Lot. This is Chapter 1, The Philadelphia Syndrome. If a liberal reporter gets beat up in a race riot, did it really happen? It's not our fault you can't fight. Emily Guildensberg had nothing to fear from black mob violence in Philadelphia. Despite the news report of dozens of violent events in her neighborhood during 2009 and 2010, she dismissed it. It's just not cool to notice the race of the attackers. So like the media and public officials, she pretended she didn't. Guildensberg was the editor at The Onion, a lifestyle magazine for the hopelessly hip, complete with gratuitous shots at Sarah Palin. Guildensberg and her reporter buddies were the good guys, just out for an evening of fun in the urban core of South Philadelphia. And if the chance for racial violence was present, the adrenaline added a bit of spice. Get a little spicy spice latte. In 2010, Guildensberg wrote a column for the Philadelphia Daily News about why using the term flash mob to describe the large group of black people organizing on Twitter belied a fundamental misunderstanding of what was happening. Unpredictable racial violence? Nothing to worry about. Losing the term flash mob to another meaning? Now, them's some fighting words. In the 2 years prior to the night Guildensberg and her band of urban pioneers were attacked, Philadelphia had seen dozens of episodes of racial mob violence. As I write this, the local news just finished a story on 3 black people, 3, not 1, 3, who had been convicted of racial violence. You have these roaming racist gangs of racist blacks attacking innocent whites. The reporter said Philly had seen 5 cases of mob violence in just the last year. I'm not sure how he's defining mob, quote-unquote, violence, because by my count, there have been many more than 5 episodes in Philadelphia. Many share the same characteristics. Punching, stealing cell phones, laughing at the victims, just terrible. Sending messages on stolen phones, fighting and assaulting police officers. And what do the public officials and press do? Minimize, marginalize, deny, and even condone the behavior. See, they're the ones that are institutionally protected. They have the whole media apparatus trying to justify and downplay their acts of racial hostility towards us. Even so, in June 2011, Guildensberg and her friends were quite surprised when their non-violent liberal intentions did nothing but encourage a crowd of more than 1,000 black people to assault her. Oh, this is not laughing. It's just absurd. One of the rioters told another victim that night, "It's not our fault you can't fight, bitch." The initial newspaper accounts said it was only 40 black people. That's a mob in of itself. But the reporters never mentioned that there were just an offshoot of thousands of black people who swarmed the upscale bars, restaurants, and shops in South Philadelphia with mayhem on their minds. Wow, I mean, maybe not all 1,000 of them. Count Flaherty. What a racist. A racist writing about racists. They were running through the streets, assaulting people in restaurants, stealing phones and purses, and pulling people off bicycles. It was violent. Very violent. I love the way he writes. And race was never mentioned. Okay, so but let's put this in context, right? So if there was a 1,000 white people mobbing in place with, mayhem on their minds, and the 40 of them beat up a woman, would race not be mentioned in the mainstream media? Of course not. Not one of the thousands cared enough to call the police or help Guildensberg and her friends when they were herded into an alley and beaten and robbed. The thugs were laughing the entire time. No one came forward to identify the assailants. Stitches for snitches is the urban automata, the code of silence. Guildensberg was beaten up pretty bad. She suffered a severely broken leg among other injuries. But she wasn't hurt badly enough to get the picture. Really? She told anyone who would listen that the attack was not racially motivated because although her assailants were black, her boyfriend was brown. Her boyfriend was brown. Her boyfriend is brown. Since he was beaten up too, but not as badly as she was, that supposedly proved the point that race had nothing to do with the attack. Well, maybe they were just misogynists. Maybe they just hated women so much. Anyone who thought differently was racist and creepy, she said. In city after city, the media and officials are sometimes victims too, ignored, minimalized, and even condoned the racial element of the violence. Several commentators to an online article about the incident at the Defund AV Club website wondered why Gildensburg could not acknowledge the racial component of the mob. They were met with scorn. Unless you're pointing out to show how whites have oppressed blacks, acknowledging the facts is racist. Philadelphia liberals met the Stockholm Syndrome. Philadelphia liberals meet the Stockholm Syndrome. Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter called Gildensburg to thank her for calming any potential racial animosity that could have resulted from her attack. Well, I think the racial animosity had already happened there. This was the same mayor who had recently declared an outbreak of racial violence was nothing to worry about and was really the fault of bad reporting. Okay. The police chief had backed up the mayor, and the district attorney said a high school diploma is the best anti-crime tool. Just 1 year and a few dozen attacks earlier, the mayor and his crew had assured the people of Philadelphia the flash mob crimes would stop because, they said they were going to stop them. You know how to take the reservation, but not how to keep the reservation. You know how to say you're going to stop black mob violence in your city. You just don't know how to stop black mob violence in your city. In 2010, Nutter told the New York Times the violence had no racial component. The official party line was that, yes, young people were committing these random acts of violence, but as for race, nobody knew nothing about nothing. See? YouTube videos showed thousands of black people roaming the streets in Philadelphia, committing acts of vandalism, looting, and violence, but not a word from the press about the racial component of these crimes. There were lots of video cameras. Locals affiliates had plenty of video footage, but no one had the nerve to say what the video screened. All the attacks and lootings were black. And even Al Jazeera had a story, flash mobs can be quite effective when multiple people turn up in one place to attract attention to a just cause. They can, however, be terrifying when they're violent and unnecessary, as we have seen in the city of brotherly love. Then came the testimonials from other victims. Police had claimed that none of the injuries imposed by the mob were serious. Why would you say that? Turns out they had not even checked. Whenever you think you're not qualified for a job, you just have to look at some of these police officers that just say things. Ronnie Polcheski, communist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, checked. She found John, a maintenance mechanic, had suffered severe brain injury and facial fractures after he was pulled from a bike and beaten. The stories are legion. February 2010, more than 100 black people broke into fights and caused destruction at a Macy's department store a few blocks from City Hall. March 17, 2010, dozens of black people fought in a clothing store while onlookers laughed and cheered. Spring 2010, police broke up a flash mob in the Tulsa Nicetown city of Philadelphia. Kids were born and acting stupid, said the reporter. The video tells another story. July 2010, hundreds of black people stormed the streets of South Philadelphia, beating, looting, destroying. June 2011, the same weekend, Gildensburg and her pals ran into, quote-unquote, nothing much. More than 40 black people in Philadelphia suburbs descended on a Sears and ransacked it in broad daylight. Afterwards, the police chief said he feared for the safety of the rioters. Insert joke here. July 2011. Stop me if you heard this before. Hundreds of black people created an quote-unquote astonishing amount of violence at downtown Philadelphia restaurants, hotels, and bars. July 4, 2011. 10 black people assaulted and stabbed a student from LaSalle University and his dog. The student is alive, though many people do not know how. The dog probably saved him. July 2011. Jeremy Schenkel, Jeremy Schenkel, Jeremy Schenkel recounted the attack on him to CBS 3 Eyewitness News. He said that the kids were laughing as they beat and kicked him, cheering each other on, almost like an admiring group that was following them, just kind of ragging on people. And one guy said, "It's not our fault you can't fight," Shekel recalls. Again, there are so many stories and so many videos that some started setting them to rap music. Um, this list goes on and on. None of the reports seem to notice the race of the criminals. It's a mystery for all of history. It was so glaring that hundreds of readers commented online and wanted to know why the newspaper repeatedly refused to identify the race of the attackers. Many of the comments were removed for being racist. You're going to remove comments for being racist, but not the violent attackers. People knew two things were important in all of these stories. And this is why people think that, like, America's religion is worshiping black people. Like, if you were viewing America from the outside and you saw this, who controls who, right? It's the people you can't, those that you can't criticize are those who control you. People knew two things were important in all these stories. Large groups of black people were systematically assaulting residents of their town. And two, the media was too heavily invested in not talking about the fact that the gangs of black criminals were entirely black. A few days after June 11th attack on Gildensburg, news anchor and local Fox affiliate weighed in. A black TV anchor worried about the destructive tone of the comments from people who observed all the people, the rioters, were black. This is how, here, I'm going to highlight this. This is how white people need to start talking. So a group of white people come in and start beating the shit out of people and destroying towns. And fellow whites should start worrying about the destructive tones of people pointing out the fact that the mob was white. This person kept their job, why not? She said it was sad, quote unquote, that people did not recognize the true nature of the violence. Young people were to blame, not black people. Okay, so blame another group, not the racial group. Young people maybe, people with errors, who knows. The guest, a black radio talk show host, said riots were not racial and that they tried to justify them because the state legislature cut money for job training and increased money for prisons. Okay, and then you can also put something else to justify it. So legislature cut funds, money, job training, therefore it's okay to beat people up. Okay. She said, it's not right to blame an entire group for the acts of a few bad people. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love this. We got gold here, people. When an African American commits a violent crime, he said, society is looking to define race. That's literally not true. When a launder shot Congresswoman Guilford, nobody said, what's wrong with the white men? This isn't a black or white issue. They need things to do. It's a classic. They didn't do it. Here's why they did it. Colin Flaherty, you were such a treasure. They were to blame young people some more, and despite overwhelming visual evidence, despite the fact that everyone arrested was black, despite every bit of evidence to the contrary, they repeated that it was not about race. Why couldn't we see that? Mayor Nutter has a eureka moment. 1 month later, Philadelphia's black mayor, Mitchell Nutter, I love that name, changed the game. After years of denying and deflecting and condoning, Nutter took the pulpit to his boyhood church and mentioned the R word, race. Oh no, Nutter, you're gonna get canceled. You're gonna get the SJWs are gonna nut all over you. Race. In a Sunday speech in July 2011, the mayor admitted the city had a problem with violent black people. Wow. He knew he fucked up. You have damaged your own race. Take those god darn hobbies down, especially in the summer. Pull your pants up, buy a belt, because no one wants to see your underwear or the crack of your butt. Nobody. If you walk into somebody's office with your hair uncombed and a pick in the back, your shoes untied, your pants half down, tattoos up and down your arms and on your neck, and you're wondering why somebody won't hire you, then they don't hire you because you look like you're crazy. How about this? Okay. Enough said. The head of Philadelphia's chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. Gotta get one of them for white people. You hear me, fellow white people? My hell heights. the head of National Association for Advancement of Colored White People, J. Wyatt Mansur said it took courage for Mr. Nutter to deliver the message. What? I get called a racist when I deliver messages like that, but Nutter, the black guy, he's a hero, or he has courage. These are majority African American youth, and they need to be called on it, Mr. Monsieur said. The black website, the Grows.com said Nutter just seemed to be disgusted that he just had to, as he put it, talk about things black people think but won't say. After years of joining with the mayor and ignoring organized racial violence, the Philadelphia Inquirer congratulated the mayor for moving quickly against mayhem mobs. Mayor Nutter got religion, so did Gildensburg. I'm afraid of young black men now. Wow, it's very annoying because there are a lot of young black men in Philadelphia, and I honestly wish I could go back to how I was before, she said. No, folks, to quote Master Comic, I'm not making this up. All the kids need, said the mayor and his crew, was a place to go, do something to do in a big Democrat-controlled city such as Philadelphia and Chicago. Democrats have been singing that song since 1964. I guess they hope that one of these days they'll get it right. How about bowling? So the mayor organized a teens night at a bowling alley for the kids, which was going well until someone got stabbed in a fist fight after bowling. And of course, the attacks continued. On July 29, 2011, a man in hospital scrubs was walking down the street at 2 p.m. Coming towards him were seven black students from Mastery Charter School in Philadelphia. Oprah gave the school $1 million. Not as a reward. The Oprah dollars came before the attack, so the black children could have shiny new computers and nice uniforms, which, not as a reward for the attacks, I just got that, nice uniforms, which they were wearing during the attack. That is Oprah. That is a crisp drip you got going on. Oprah-funded attack. As the man passed the students, they turned and pummeled him. It was all caught on tape from 2 surveillance cameras. Maybe we'll see this on the Oprah network. You know, this is one of the great reasons why you need cell phones. Because cell phones, you can film people as you walk past them. If they get angry at you and attack you, it's still their fault. I got attacked in Kalamazoo. I was accosted and then, well, not really punched, but like physically bumped against by a black youth because he didn't like me taking his picture. You're in public. But see, you gotta protect yourself. You got video evidence, man. It'll save your life. At the time, Fox News bragged this video, which you will only see on Fox, was a big deal. Fox took it down. But kudos to livelinks.com for having the foresight to capture the original Fox report. Man, Flaherty is like, he is like plugged in. In 2009, a year before this, racial mob violence started making news. Other cases of racial mob violence were going on at Philadelphia schools. The schools were bending over backwards to overlook it. It got so bad, it took a Department of Justice investigation to make them stop denying it. In September 2011, 2 white kids in Philadelphia community for Portland Richmond may or may not have laughed at a black person who may or may not have fallen off a bike. It's unclear what happened to trigger this event. Hey, that's my bike. But we do know that a crowd of about 40 black people chased 2 boys into a nearby house and gave them a stern talking to. The Inquirer described what happened next inside the house. Mark Levan, 37, called to his wife, Kim, 30, to go to their bedroom with their twin 13-year-old boys, Mark and Mason, and call the police. He ordered his 2 other sons, 11 and 17, and his nephew, 7, to stay upstairs, with the 2 teens hiding in the house. LaVale, 5'10", 220 pounds, a well-known sports league organizer and coach in the community, went outside to try to calm the angry mob. They were standing on his steps. One shouted, "Something's going to happen now. I don't know what. They're so angry." Seep and Cove and Seep. Laval recalled at an interview Friday at his house. Laval got nervous and went back inside, locking the door with a deadbolt. But the attackers pounded on the front window. "You left at us," and kicked the wooden door so hard it flew open and some of them entered the house. Oh my God! The first guy hit me with a pipe. The second guy knocked me in the face. I'm hearing my wife and kids screaming, said Laval, who feared the next time he saw them, he would be in a casket. That's so dramatic. He said that he was able to push the attackers out the door, but a third man who had a gun tried to extend his arm. Laval grabbed onto the gunman's lower arm and shoulder so he couldn't raise the weapon. Wow. That escalated quickly. Port Richmond police arrived, rotary port and left. Okay, sorry. Okay. All done, boys. Let's go get some donuts. We did it. Another great job for the Port Richmond police officers. 2 hours later, the mob returned and threatened the occupants, trying to intimidate them not to testify in court. Oh, last week I was talking about there's a Colin Flaherty podcast where he was talking to a woman whose, I think it was like husband or son was stabbed to death, and the guy was like orgasming while he stabbed him. That same thing happened. I guess there's a lot of witness intimidation in the black community, and then when an outsider, like a non-black person, is involved, it ramps up even more. So it's something I think I had that in the back of my mind, but I keep forgetting about it. So I'm glad this is bringing this back up, bringing it to the forefront of my brain. 2 hours later, black mob returned occupants, not the question in court. Okay. And was just one of a rash of mob attacks on individual homes. In Kansas City, the exact same thing was about to happen until the homeowner pulled out a rifle. The crowd went elsewhere to wreak havoc. We'll go to a different house. Months later, another victim, Ann Taylor, was identified for the first time. She was badly beaten in the Philadelphia race riot and may never fully recover. The blow that Taylor absorbed was so powerful that she lost the front tooth and its root. The root of nearby teeth still may die, her dentist told her. The punch also split her upper lip so severely that much of it was hanging from her face and she was unable to speak. A misogynist. Anti-white misogyny. Taylor's mother, Peggy, a Germantown social worker, said her daughter needed so many stitches in and outside of her mouth in Hammerman University Hospital after the assault, we just couldn't count them. The mob took over South Street. A warm Sunday night, the first spring, as though popping out of nowhere, where one witness said. It seems to be following the pattern of three similar mobs that have quickly assembled in Center City on March 3rd, February 16th, and December 18th. They had smiles on their faces as they scared people at random, Assistant Director Attorney Angel Foss said in an interview with the Inquirer a week after the March 20 attacks. They thought that assaulting others was a form of enjoyment. Indeed, disgusting. Indeed, the young man who hit Taylor was laughing as he punched her and said, "Bam, there goes another one," implying that he's a crazy violent person. According to Taylor, it was frightening. In Atlantic City on July 4th, 2012, hundreds of black people were milling around Billy Casino on the boardwalk near midnight. Soon there were fights and pandemonium. People running for their lives as a man shoots into the boardwalk just hours after Atlantic City 4th of July celebration ended. And of course, the whole thing was caught on video, including the shooting. Philadelphia TV reporter Steve Kelly for Fox 29 got so impatient with bumbling of the ineffectual prosecutor, he demanded he stop using psychobabble and start talking about the criminals in the way people can understand. Just blown off some steam after reviewing thousands of videos with more than 500 episodes of racial violence, I thought at some point I would lose my capacity to be surprised. Then came Temple University. In just a bit, you will read about an event that just might be crazier than the episode that gave this book its name. Until then, here's a little background. Temple University in Philadelphia, Temple University is a Philadelphia school that, like Columbia and the University of South California, is located in a high-crime urban neighborhood. Urban? Now they have me using euphemisms. So the people who run Temple University decided they need to do something about mob violence. Naturally, they contacted their medical school because it's a public health thing. After a lot of deliberation, they decided to hire community activists from the neighborhood with people with street cred. Oh, yes, I have street cred. Not anymore. I used to have street cred. I never had street cred. This is like that meme. Imbued with street cred. We gave them a test. It was a written test. It was very long. They all passed it. They imbued with street cred. They go around and talk to leaders of the mob, the violent flash mobs in Philadelphia, and convince them to stop beating, looting, stealing, vandalizing, and all that. They spent $500,000, to hire 3 outreach workers. One of them was 26 years old guy named Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones knows the streets of South Philadelphia, and he understands what his young clients are going through in their daily lives. He can relate, wrote Piers Stewart in the Devise. She went on to write, and here's the kicker. Jones says he understands the high energy level of youth and they need to blow off steam. Here is what kind of terrible person I am. I would not have believed the quote if someone had told me, if I'd read about it, or if I heard about it on TV or radio. I would only have believed it if I read it myself. You can check the article yourself. The Nutter delivered his sterling rebuke to the massive black violence in Philadelphia, and it's tempting to say it all went well. It did seem better, at least for a while. In February 2013, Philadelphia Magazine wrote a story about how white people, I guess the street cred people didn't work, huh? Or maybe they did work. Maybe that's why it slowed down. In February 2013, Philadelphia Magazine wrote an article about how white people are afraid of black violence, even afraid to speak about it. Nutter went ballistic. Oh, now he's going ballistic. Gone were the conciliatory words and calls for personal responsibility. Nutter asked the city Human Relations Committee to investigate the bad man who wrote the article. 3 weeks later, it happened again. 200 black people in the streets of downtown Philadelphia fighting and rampaging. How about you ask them to investigate the 200 black people 3 weeks later that were in the streets of Philadelphia fighting and rampaging? See, those are crimes in America, and it's not a crime to write an article about race. Even if you wrote an article about talking about racial IQ differences between black and white people, that's still not a crime. So why is the mayor doing that? Makes it seem like he hates white people. Which, of course, is where we started. This book is about predators and victims, but some people fight back, and we'll talk about them, too. And we'll talk about them, too, next time. That's all I have for you today. Enjoy your day. It's not a beautiful day here, but maybe it's a beautiful day where you are. This is Spencer McGreal signing out. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And look forward to more readings from Colin Flaherty, who has unfortunately passed away. White Girl Bleeds a Lot. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.